It's funny, after a couple of days, you get up and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, geez, this doesn't look like a BBL to me. How is my BBL going to come if it's not there?
How much did they actually end up charging you? Hi, I'm Sabrina, a licensed massage therapist and certified cosmetic surgery specialist. And this is Talk Plastic Surgery, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I have one of my favorite patients on the show today who actually did not have such a good surgery. She went in and thinking that it was going to be all roses and rainbows, and it ended up being all dirt and mud. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest. Here is Patty.
Thanks, Sabrina. Hello, my name is Patty. And yes, I did have a procedure that definitely came out very muddy. It was a 360 BBL. I had it done here in Las Vegas in 2023, I believe. And we are now in 2025, and it's been a long road to recovery.
So when you were deciding on picking your surgeons, what made you decide to pick the surgeon that you went with the first procedure?
I did some research, but as usual, I always feel that word of mouth is a great advertisement. However, in this case, it wasn't. I met some ladies that had said she had some friends that had the BBLs done at a local large medical firm here. And so I started researching it and looking on their Instagram. And the Instagram was what sold me, right? Their posts were amazing. The comments, they were, pretty good. So I reached out to them, and I didn't get a second opinion, which was another thing I failed. But because I had heard from the other ladies that they had had good reviews, I just went with it. And I had a terrible experience, because what happened was, as I mentioned, on their Instagram, everything looked great. The only thing was that I didn't realize it was such a big firm that you didn't know what doctor you were getting. So I couldn't do the research that I should have done, because by the time I knew who the doctor was, it was too far in.
So by the time you actually met your doctor, do you actually feel like it was a personable experience? And when they actually took you back, was that the first time you actually met your doctor? Or did you actually get to spend like a solid hour with your doctor?
The first time that I actually met him was on, not FaceTime, it was just on a call, because I'm from Canada, so they did the consultation over the phone. And I mean, he was very professional, sounded knowledgeable, had been a plastic surgeon for years, has a medical practice in, I believe, Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it sounded great, right? He reassured me that things were going to go great. He was going to treat me like one of his family members, and that gave me confidence. So that was the first time that I spoke to the doctor. And then fast forward, I flew to Vegas to have the procedure done. Again, the corporation, the medical lab is very professional, very beautiful. The doctor was very kind. Unfortunately, I think what failed in my experience was that he wasn't specialized in the procedure I was wanting.
That makes sense. And one thing I always advise to patients that actually see me preoperatively is, if you're going to look for a surgeon, make sure that you know that they do the surgeries and actually specialize in the surgeries that you specifically want. And that being said, let's talk about after the procedure was done. So did you go under local anesthesia, or did they put you to sleep?
No, the procedure you're awake. It's just a local. They numb you from the waist down, I guess. You're awake for the whole entire thing, laying on your stomach, and they do their fat suction and put it in their machine.
Since you were awake for the whole surgery, did you actually feel anything?
No, the experience being awake was nice because you're not under, you don't have to go through anesthetic. I thought, what a great way. And I mean, it's, the company advertises that the great part about this procedure, the way this medical practice does it, is that you are awake. And again, right, I failed myself in not doing as much research as I should have. But no, did I feel anything? No, I was numb. I was talking the whole time, whatnot. The whole thing took in and out was 3 hours. From the point I filled out the forms and left, I think it was 3 hours. So it wasn't that long, which should have been my first indication that a procedure of that expense and of that nature should be longer than 3 hours in and out.
One thing I've actually come across with when you actually do the procedure awake is that it's actually, from what I've seen, and I'm not a surgeon or anything, but from my patients, is that it's actually a lot harder to do more of the type of fat transfer that you want to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen it done really good, but I've also seen it not so good. And in this situation, after you got out of the procedure. So what happened when you left the surgery center?
When I left the surgery center, again, I left in a faja. I was comfortable. It was a bit of pain, but I was still the numbing, and they gave me some medication, whatnot. But it's funny, after a couple of days, you get up, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm thinking, geez, this doesn't look like a BBL to me. Like, I looked... And because, again, this was new to me, right? Yeah. I was expecting a BBL, like your butt is supposed to be very voluptuous, very full, but I felt like I was very full in the hips. And mind you, I've always had an hourglass shape, right? It's not like I was ever, not voluptuous to begin with, but I wanted a little bit more enhancement. And I didn't see that with the faja, which was kind of strange to me, but I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to judge. The bad, as you put it, Sabrina, and the ugly in the mud didn't come till months later. When, because the procedure, what they did was they took the fat from all areas of my body. They took it from my legs. But they told me, do not get any massages. You just lay, don't do anything. You can walk. Don't exercise for so many weeks. So I took it easy, did exactly what they told me. And fast forward, I hired a coach for training. I trained with, it's every day, like 4 or 5 times a week. And I went back for my consult, and I just said, something just doesn't look right. I look uneven. One hip was higher than the other. And I said my legs looked it was almost like I had, not cellulite, it was almost like I had bumps underneath my skin, something that I didn't have before I started. And they said, I met with the surgeon, and he said, you know what, we can't do anything else. Just keep exercising, keep, eating well. Eventually that's going to go away. But in my mind, I'm like, how is my BBL going to come if it's not there? And how are these bumps in my legs going to go? Should I say get massages or no? So that was, it's been a learning curve, that's for sure. A very expensive one.
On that note, on the expenses, how much did they actually end up charging you for this whole procedure?
They charged me $26,000 for a procedure that lasted the procedure itself, probably an hour and a half, because by the time they numbed you, whatnot, an hour was probably paperwork. And when I went back and said, you know what, I'm not happy with this, I want my money back. Sorry, you signed no refunds. So they said, we can touch it up. We'll have to take some more fat from here and put it here, but we're going to charge you another $6,000. And I was like, no. And at that time, they had brought in another doctor that was doing the procedure. That doctor wasn't in at the time. But the new doctor did say that he agreed, yes, you're not even. Both hips are not the same on each side. that my inner thigh, they had taken too much from here, so my inner thigh was very uneven, and my knees. He said they should have done something with my knees, but I had all these dots everywhere from where they had withdrawn the fat that did not do anything for me, and that's when I had so much. What is it fibrosis, which I didn't know was fibrosis at the time until I came across Sabrina.
Yes, yes, yes. And honestly, once you came into my life and we started working together, it was really fascinating to see how much fibrosis and scar tissue formations were starting to build up actually in Patty's legs and in her waist. Yes. So that is honestly why the massages are so important. The aftercare is so crucial, because maybe if Patty would have gotten massages from the jump, maybe this experience would have turned out differently. Unfortunately, that was not the experience that Patty had. And because of that, we ended up having to go see another surgeon, didn't we?
We did.
And so how did you decide on the surgeon that you ended up going to in Miami?
Second time around, I was much wiser. So I did a lot of research this time, and I came across, I was on TikTok one day, and they were doing a live, and I came across this doctor, this clinic in Miami, and everybody was saying, you know, my friends and people that knew I had it done, Miami's where you should go. Miami is where you should go. So I started zooming in on Miami, and I came across this clinic, and I thought, wow, this clinic, their results are amazing, right? And it's funny because then now that I had something to compare to, I thought, oh, well, there's no comparison, right? And one thing that they were advocate about was the massaging. And they actually, you can't leave their clinic. I believe it's minimum 4 days I had to stay. It was a week, 5 days. 5 days I had to stay with the massaging. They had to do the lymphatic draining and that. If you didn't do it, they won't even do the surgery for you. So it was like night and day. Just the paperwork when I went to the clinic in Miami was about a 7-hour ordeal. So, and with this one, I did go under. And when I went to see the surgeon, he was very sympathetic to the situation that I had been through. And he took almost like a personal care to me. And he did an amazing job. Do I have the perfect body? No, but wow, did I go from a 3 to a 9.
Yes, and honestly, once you came back to me and we were actually able to finally make some better progress on the whole situation of the previous circumstances themselves, I feel like we're actually getting somewhere now. Yes. And as far as your legs, incredible. The work we're doing on the legs and the stomach, it's just looking incredible. And the booty is popping. The booty is finally popping. It's round. It's looking good. You're snatched up. The legs are finally getting snatched up too. And thankfully now we were able to actually fix a lot of the problems that happened before.
Yeah. The second surgeon was able to fix, even me out. My hips are now normal, both sides. Like I said, I was always curvy. I just wanted a bigger booty, and I did not get that with the first people, not at all. I still had the same booty. I just had really wide hips, and it was funny because I couldn't even my pants, they wouldn't fit, right? Because I was so wide, and I just looked like I wasn't proportionate. The sizing looked odd. Yeah. With the second surgeon, he made me like a silhouette. And but again, I think the lymphatic drainage and the massaging has done wonders for sure. But you know what? To people that haven't gone through this, one thing that it's cost me. I could have bought a brand new car by now. And do your research. And what I paid in Miami was only $6,500.
Yeah. And that's actually a question that I was going to ask again is what did you end up paying in Miami? And so going from 6,500, going from 6,500 to 2,600 for
26,000.
26,000. I mean, from a $26,000 procedure to get botched to 65 and to look absolutely glam, snatched, fabulous. It's astronomical, honestly. And this is what another point that I want to say to everyone is that it doesn't matter if the surgeon charges a lot. That doesn't mean that it's going to be good surgery. I highly recommend actually talking to people and looking at their bodies, making sure that the surgeon actually does the procedure that you like and that you actually want for yourself. Another big thing that Patty and I were talking about when she was deciding on a new surgeon to help fix the irregularities from before is that when you are picking a surgeon, make sure that you see that they have the same, that they're working on the same type of body types that you have. And that she was showing me pictures of the surgeon that all of his portfolio was definitely body types that shaped Patty. And so that's why I feel like honestly you ended up getting a really good shape in the end. Now I would like to bring on some rapid fire questions. If you can do something different, what would you do?
If I could go back?
In general.
In general, I honestly would be don't get excited and jump into something just word of mouth. You have to do your research and make sure that the surgeon you're going with is a surgeon that actually has done several procedures. Where the surgeon I had first round, I think he had maybe done 2, 3. And so, I mean, he was a plastic surgeon, but he was doing everything but that. So it was like, and like I said to the clinic, I said I paid for a Ferrari and I got a Pinto. And that's the honest truth, right? It is true, right? Where the clinic I went to Miami, they're on there live and they're showing you the procedures, and the doctor has 10, 20, 30 girls that he's actually done. Where the other surgeon, actually the other clinic, doesn't even post the surgeons because the clinic has so many locations in Canada, in the States. I think they have maybe 20 locations. So it could be one location in Florida that has a great doctor, but unfortunately the one in Vegas didn't have that doctor. So when you're looking at a platform that it's all as one, not city by city or office by office, I didn't think of it, right? Yeah. What doctor am I getting? So you see that, and that's what sold me was the whole platform instead of the one doctor, where the second time around, yes, I went to the doctor. I want to see what this doctor does and what this doctor can't do.
Excellent. Yes, I definitely agree. And also, how did getting plastic surgery affect you emotionally?
Well, it was supposed to affect me emotionally well, but unfortunately, the first time around, it was very depressing, lots of crying days, very insecure, self-conscious, and frustrated that I'd spent all my savings on that. And remember, I'm Canadian, so 26,000 US, do the conversion. It's a lot more to Canadian. Second time around, it's been amazing. My confidence has back, and I feel good. I'm still working out, working hard. I mean, the BBL isn't just going to stay there. You still have to work out, and like you said, Sabrina, the massages you've done have been outstanding.
And on that note, do you think that the aftercare is a huge part of the whole procedure in itself?
Huge. Yes, 100%, 100%. Even though that the second surgeon did a great job, the lymphatic massages, like the fibrosis and that, which I wasn't aware of, that I had so much of it, if I just let that be, that's what I would have ended up with. Yeah, I would have ended up with a bigger booty, but I would have had fibrosis everywhere still, in my stomach, lower. And here's the other thing, this doctor did not touch my legs. And he said he'd never heard of a BBL taking withdrawing from the legs. So there's another thing that the first surgeon did that wasn't so good.
Awesome. And just to end the show, I have one more question. Any tips you have for someone else considering getting cosmetic surgery?
I sound like a broken record. Do your research.
Yes.
For sure, because that is where I failed. I thought I did my research. Do it if it feels good. I know it's a hot topic. Some people are against it. Some people aren't. I'm one that does. If it makes me happy, that's why I do something. And plastic surgery, if I could do more, I had my breasts done a year after, and I'm not ashamed to say it, and I love it. And whatever you do, get the lymphatic massaging. And come and see Sabrina. She's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patty, for coming in and allowing me to interview. It really is an honor, and sharing your story with everyone, because it's so important for everyone to really know the real people talking about their real experiences with surgery, because it is a huge surgery. It's very intense, and it is a very long process. And if you don't have the proper aftercare or the proper aftercare provider also, then you're not going to get the results that you want. You can end up spending like $30,000. And so thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day.